So now, what is my wildest suspicion? What do I suspect in this? I probably suspect that Tchiroma and the government of Cameroon somehow have come to a consensus of accommodation. How they're going to accommodate him. I greatly suspect that. And there is something that we should also understand, and I think in my the last time I was on your show, I made it clear to you, because when you study the geopolitics in Central Africa, you see the ramification of the relationship between Cameroon and Nigeria. I made it clear to you that from past history, Tchiroma will never be hosted in Nigeria. And it happened just as I said in that program. But now, what I suspect is that the exfiltration of Tchiroma from Garoua was well organized between the government of Cameroon and Nigeria, but with the assurance that they will not host him in Nigeria. They will send him far away from Nigeria, because Nigeria would have had no problem to host Tchiroma, but the pressure on Nigeria would have been too great, because the Cameroonians and the friends of the resistance in Cameroon would have been having this narrative that Nigeria is preparing Tchiroma, and that's what was being said, by the way, that there's going to be an assault from Nigeria. So because Nigeria don't want to find itself in the theatrics of building a resistance against the Biya regime, the Yola Mafia, that's the Yola Mafia, the Adamawa people of Nigeria that have connection with the Adamawa people of Cameroon, they certainly arrange with Gambia and say, okay, you guys have him there, and we will see what we can do. So it's clear, it's clean and done, and as you put it in your the change that should come in Cameroon, it's going to be the responsibility of Cameroonians. And I am very sure that Tchiroma was not even ready for this, because if he was ready for this, if they were serious, and I will join Barrister Lisinge, that these people should tell Cameroonians the truth. If they had any plan, Secretary Chris, on the 7th, when was that result declared? On the 12th of October, I should think, when the results were declared, we saw the massive uprising in Cameroon, from Douala to Bafoussam to Garoua, even the East Province of all. Can you imagine that there was uprising even in the East? So, these people, they are playing with the Cameroonian people. They are not serious. They have no plan. We cannot dream ourselves out of this totalitarian regime. No, we cannot dream. We cannot hope ourselves, just hoping ourselves out of this totalitarian regime.
Let me ask you a question here. You say that the Gambia, when they talk about negotiating with trying to broker dialogue with Issa Tchiroma, they are negotiating. How can you think that Issa Tchiroma is negotiating when only yesterday his party, through Alice Income, said they are not going in for the municipal elections, which are supposed to be happening, I think, in March? If they were negotiating something, don't you think that he would agree to go in for the elections? In fact, that would be one of the things that a lot of people would use to corner him, to say, come, we will give you so many councils, we will give you so many parliamentarians, and you know how they work there. So why do you think that Issa is succumbing to some form of negotiation?
Okay, one of the things that we have to understand about the way the Cameroonian government or the regime wants to negotiate, they want to negotiate on their terms. That's the way their negotiation is. Their negotiation has never been on, okay, I will cede to you some grounds. So when Tchiroma says that, first of all, and that's why it's dubious, the elections are in March, and Tchiroma, they're saying that they're not going to, they will not participate in that election. The first thing, they don't have the machinery to participate in any local election, because a local election will be revealing of Tchiroma's lack of local implantation. If I were Tchiroma, I would not even go in for that election, because I would know the truth that this election can come and contradict whatever momentum I had created, because the reality will be there. Tchiroma knows that those who are vying and supporting him are not FSNC militants. It is MRC militants. So Tchiroma knows that when they launch that election, with Kamto that is coming back to take over his party, should the MRC go, Tchiroma will win no council out of Garoua. That's clear. The Douala where Tchiroma trounced Paul Biya, the Yaoundé where Tchiroma trounced Paul Biya, all the divisions in the West Province where Tchiroma trounced Paul Biya, all those areas, the Tchiroma will not even have 5% in a local election. So when we know the reality of the field, that's a very great statement, political statement that Alice Com has made. But the bottom line is, just to give you again this example, Tchiroma knows this very well. In 1992, Tchiroma himself, talking about the way Paul Biya negotiates, in 1992, after the presidential elections, Paul Biya decided that they were going to form a government of national unity and went into negotiation with UNDP, that's Bello Buba. Bello Buba was the negotiator on behalf of UNDP. Bello Buba was stating that he needs 6 members of government in order for them to strike the deal to enter that government of national unity in 1992. So while the CPDM was negotiating with the UNDP, with Bello and Bello Buba as representative, what happened? This very Tchiroma is the person that the CPDM used to circumvent the negotiation that was being on track with Bello Buba. So you see that there is that mindset of the CPDM. When they negotiate, they go on the table, it is yes or yes. It is not yes or no.
And I think you are very correct in your assessment there, because if you look at when the SDF lost in 1992, yes, I think it was 1992, Kamto lost in 2018. In the case of the SDF, they said, let's go for local elections. I think actually local elections took place before the presidential election. I think they had the legislative before the presidential, and then they did the presidential, and then after there was the local elections. And they promised the SDF so many seats, and I think the SDF actually had quite a number of seats. They had over 70 seats in parliament, am I correct?
No, that was 40, I think 43.
They had quite a number of seats in parliament at the first multi-party election. That was 1992, I believe. And then progressively, every other election, they took away everything from the SDF. Exactly. It came to the MRC of Maurice Kamto. Maurice Kamto now has no councillors, I don't even know what he has, parliamentarians. So I think that's a very smart reasoning. If Issa Tchiroma dares go in for any election in March, that is just 3 months from today, Biya will sweep everything to tell the international community, look at this guy you say won the presidential election, could not even win 10 councils anywhere in Cameroon, and you want us to give the country to him. Who does he represent? I think that is a calculation Cameroon is looking into. Let me go to Shea Tata to weigh in on this. What do you think of this letter from the Gambia? But let's look at another angle. Are Cameroonians ready to fight? Are they ready to go in for another election just in 3 months when they know this one is not resolved and they cannot win again in 3 months? Is there any need? Can they fight? That is the question in the heart of everybody. Share that you try. You are closer to them than us.
Thank you again, Comrade Chris, and greetings to all my other colleagues in the panel. Before I attempt an answer, I want us to have a a flashback to the 6th of November. You remember the day of the inauguration, we were on this studio where I questioned the loyal military that we also all over, and we are asking ourselves where they are. And I also question how the Cameroon borders will be that porous for people to say that he has flown into the country without any interference or no trace of anything. Now, talking about the elections, I just want to, first of all, to agree with what was, I forgot the other name, the last speaker.
Okay, Kenedy.
Mr. Kenedy. If you look at what is already happening, I think on the 28th, few days from now, when we are having the regional elections, you will see that CPDM already is going to be sweeping those house of chiefs or whatever, how they call them. And I can tell you that at the moment, the only thing that is going to even happen is that looking at the present situation where there is this belief that Cameroon Biya can never be defeated through the ballot, a lot of people again, especially even of the opposition, may not even register for that elections or may not even go to vote, and as such, CPDM again will read or take the votes in those areas where they think that the opposition cannot go. So this is, to me, what I see in that if we have to go for the municipal and legislative, which is or what we call the parliamentary elections, I foresee another scenario where Mr. Kenedy said that Tchiroma can be humiliated in this stage. Talking about the bit you started with, the issue of the letter, refugees, we do experience this kind of things in Nigeria, where before you are even granted a refugee status, these are some of the commitments you make. You have to undertake them, that you are not even going to go against any member state of the AU and a sovereign state. And they do have their meetings and agreement among themselves. I'm not a lawyer, where it's very difficult for a country to come against another. And that's one of the reasons why Ambazonia has been in this difficulty of having even just one country that could recognize us at the moment, because of these diplomatic ties that they have among each other that they agree. Now, the challenge too that Tchiroma would have had, because when you see that the regional, what was the word that he says, the regional committee or whatever is going to work with the government of Nigeria, I find it difficult again now agreeing with Mr. Mote that something definitely is going to happen in this December that we are looking forward to see that thing. Reason being that if Nigeria is going to get involved in this, then probably we are going to wait for long, because the current challenges and crises that are in Nigeria is definitely not going to abandon them to come to solve the crisis in Cameroon. I'm saying this because even President Tinubu was supposed to have been in South Africa for the G20 meeting due to the recent kidnappings in schools in Kwara State, in Kebbi State, in Niger State. He was obliged to cancel those trips. He even canceled the EU summit that is taking place, I think, in Angola. This is to tell you that Nigeria is in a serious crisis where they need to resolve them, as Trump is also threatening to come to Nigeria to solve the problems himself if Nigeria does not sit up, knowing fully well about the Christian genocide debate that is going on. And as if that is not enough, we just saw recently Nnamdi Kanu being sentenced to life imprisonment, which is also bringing another uprising in the East. Then I will tell you that Nigeria is having their cup full, and for them to be able to intervene and start negotiations with the Cameroon issue, we are going to wait for long. And as we know, time, as we keep saying, time heals all wounds. The momentum is dying, and that is what La Republic is doing, trying to buy time. And that is why you ask a question. Since the 7th, and we are getting the confirmation of his stay, probably 2 weeks after, what should have been happening? I yield.
Thank you. The question remains though. Tchiroma cannot fight. His hands apparently are tied, and you are very correct. As a refugee, a political refugee in any country, you are told you cannot use this country where you have admission to launch anything, to say anything that compromises relations between the two countries. I was told that when I sought refuge in Nigeria, early 90s, and I couldn't write anything against Cameroon. Even when I was working in the media, I couldn't write anything just to protect my status. So the question, we go back to the question, are Cameroonians ready to fight? Can they fight? Because if they are waiting for Issa Tchiroma to leave exile, come and fight, that is not going to happen. Shay, let me come back to you before I get back to
the answer is simple. You saw what happened on Friday when he declared the ghost town.
Yeah.
Many places were open.
Yeah.
So if people cannot even sit at home to show solidarity for a day, do you think they are willing? When I talk to Francophones, the first thing they tell us that they are afraid to die. And if you are afraid to die, you cannot fight. They even keep quoting the 2008 incident, that when they stood to the street, they were even shocked to see that Ambazonia, when we started, they were laughing and saying, it's not going to work. We tried in 2008, we tried in this year, it didn't work. Now, talking about if they can fight, I have even seen a message coming in again. I don't know if it is rumor that there is going to be another lockdown. And you have said it many times, repeatedly, lockdowns will not win the fight. So to tell you that Cameroonians are ready to fight, I will tell you no. It suffices enough to just buy them a bottle of 3-3 Expo, and they will tell you beer is great, like in the days of Mussolini in 1922. The people are not even ready as well. Even if they could fight, they are not ready. The only person people have been relying on is the one you brought to the show. Is it Ben Modo? What is the name?
Yeah, Ben Modo.
Whom people are waiting to hear that people are expecting to see you bring him to the show to say where they are. Now they tell they have recruited 10,000 soldiers. Where are they? Sometimes if things were available as people expect, we should have been even seeing videos of people coming out showing their strength, saying they are ready for this. Nothing is happening at the moment. And like I said, the final nil was shown that they are not ready to fight. On Friday, that hunger alone could not permit them to go out and show solidarity and listen to their president. In Douala, I know so many shops that were open and quarters and markets. In Yaoundé, the same. Even part of it in Bafoussam, in the West region.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they are ready to fight. Even if they can, they are not ready. First of all, they do not have the resources. And that is why, I don't know who said if Tchiroma was ready. I think if Tchiroma knew what he was going for, the North would have been an opportunity. But if the North stands up to fight and nothing happens in Yaoundé, Bia will tell you, if Yaoundé breathes, then Cameroon is breathing.